Yo, it's Captain, bringing you a Star Rail Captain's Log 2.2-3 is our third time playing patch 2.2, the main story. We've been working pretty hard on the main story because it's supposed to be pretty long. We actually did make a little more progress today, even though I got kind of annoyed at it at the end. But we did, according to the big chunk of playthrough, like what's it called? The long playthrough that I'm using for time measurement. We made it through a full hour instead of just 45 minutes, which is what we've been doing the last two things. Now it's taken us like 3 or 4 hours to do this, but you know what I mean, because we're talking and stuff, and I play slowly. But yeah, as far as just chunking through the content, autoplay, and everything, we made it through another hour, according to the video that I'm watching that did that. So what did we do? What'd you do, Captain? All right, we started with Gallagher gets the gang together at the monuments in Dream Flux Reef. We went through Gallagher's lore bomb round 2. His lore bomb round 1 was on last patch 2.1. We went to the Watchmaker's grave, which is pretty cool. And then we did the Dan Heng and Boothill scene and the very quick Acheron flashback that kind of follows that. Now, technically, the game continued. It goes to a it says you switch to Robin's POV and you're on a flashback from Sunday, it looks like. But at this point, I was a little bit livid because it was a very long chunk of cutscenes that they just don't stop, and you don't know when they're coming. And I'm like, okay, I got a little time. Let's do the next bit. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, here's an hour worth of cutscenes. Even if you just autoplay, and I don't want to just autoplay. I want to sit and listen to the story and stuff and think about it and talk about it. And so an hour-long autoplay is going to be a lot longer. And I was just like, it just won't stop. And they were like, did that to me the last time we played, and it did it to me the time before that, and here it was doing it to me again. I looked it up. I kept going through scene and scene, and like that last scene with the Acheron flashback, I didn't even get to enjoy because I was just like, why is there more scenes? I am already super late. Why does Hoyo not respect my time? Why do they do this? And so I just had Alt F4. I had Alt F4. I actually looked it up. There's in order to finish the sequence, there would be the Sunday flashback and then a scene with Sunday and Robin and Welt, which as we go through the story, that will make sense. And then you can finally play again. So it's like, it's this huge, it was still like 10 minutes of just autoplay, just 10 straight minutes, which would have been a lot, which would have been the minimum time for me, because of course I'm not autoplaying and I'm talking, I'm trying to absorb it and understand and then analyze, so I thought I wasn't gonna Captain, what is this video? What are you doing whining? I thought I wasn't gonna whine about that until the end. But I don't know, I guess I'll whine about it now. Look, we got it out of the way. We got it out of the way. So we made it from the finish of Dreamflux Reef to essentially through Dan Heng and Boothill scene. That's what we covered today. Mainly a story today, mainly watching cutscenes. We just had got out of, if you remember last time, we were doing a lot of exploration around the Dreamflux Reef, and it was a lot of gameplay and a lot of map exploration. This one was stories and big reveals, and then a goofy comedy scene. So, I don't know. I guess, what was kind of the whole thing? It really was the two scenes. It's really the Gallagher scene and the Dan Heng Boothill scene. And the Dan Heng Boothill scene was really just like a comedy break, from what I can tell. And it was actually pretty good. I thought I really hated it because I was really mad. Because I was running out of time, and then I felt like it wasted my time. But I watched it back. I watch this long play before I do these to kind of remind myself what happened, so I can have better video analysis for you. And watching it back, you know, it didn't annoy me as much. And then I remembered, that's right, it didn't annoy me until a specific point. And that specific point came, and that's when I remembered it. And I was like, oh my God, this is why I was mad. We'll talk about that when we get there. I don't expect it to take forever. It was, like I said, it was just story kind of sections today. I just want to give my impressions, but there were some really cool story moments. And I want to talk about those. So if you recall, we left off in the Dreamflix where you're kind of gathering the gang together, except we didn't know it, and it wasn't us that was gathering the gang, it was Gallagher. And so he had got everyone together. It was Micah and Misha, who seemed to disappear very quickly, Firefly, the Train Gang, so Welt, Himiko, March, did I use a thumb? Doesn't matter. And Trailblazer, and Sunday and Robin. So the two Halovians. And are they twins? Are they just siblings? Anyways, the angel kids. And then Gallagher kind of explains what's going on. He gives us the big lore bombs. He gives us the big lowdown. He lets, I think he says he lets Robin and Sunday catch up, and he's just going to talk to us because he's like, they already know, they're already on my side. And my prediction from yesterday was indeed correct. He is getting this is his team that he thinks will kind of take on the problem in Penacony, the corruption in the family, and fix the issue. Because he's on the Watchmaker side, and this is the issue that goes all the way back to the Watchmaker, who he talks about as his dear friend. And I don't know, basically he just gives you a bunch of reveals. I guess I should just go into the reveals. I don't really want to summarize so much. I just want to talk about impressions and analysis and thoughts, because I think that's the fun bit. So what does he drop on us? He drops who he officially is, Gallagher the fictionologist. People had to help me with this because I didn't really understand what they meant. Apparently, like, followers of the Enigmata might be, which is one of the paths, might be fictionologists, and their job is to make history less accurate. I was like, what? And I actually knew that part about the fictionologists. I knew they made up stuff and tried to get people to believe it, but I didn't know why. I always people helped me in chat, and they said, well, the point is, the idea of the Enigmata and the fictionologist is, if everything is known, like, you lose something. Oh, I forget. See, I've already forgotten. But you lose something if everything is clearly known. Like, there's no, I don't know, there's no inspiration or something anymore. Somebody will know. Captain tried to know. Captain's not smart. Chat was smart. Captain's not smart. And so, in order to fight against everything being known and, you know, the universe dying out because there's no wonder left, I don't know. They intentionally mess with things and give out false information just to keep people trying to find the truth, right? Which actually, I thought about it, I was thinking about it, I was like, that explains all his stupid jokes where he's like, I'm 13, or look, it's Robin, and it's actually Firefly. And you're like, why is he making these dumb jokes? Because he's a fictionalist. He just naturally throws out some wrong information to mess with you. Shoot, I wish I could remember the exact thing that they want to preserve, whether it's inspiration or just to keep pursuit of knowledge going, or just because they feel like things will die or something. I can't quite remember. Oh, well, whatever. Whatever. So he reveals he's a fictionologist. He reveals that he sent out the invitations, right? He's the one that sent out all the invitations to all the different groups. And he reveals that there is a stellaron on Penacony. And in order to fix the stellaron problem, that's why he sent out all the invitations, because he thought if he got all these groups here fighting amongst each other, not only would one of them figure out a solution to the stellaron, but the fighting amongst themselves would help draw out the traitor in the family. Because you remember, he's not, the family's against the Watchmakers. According to him, the family betrayed the Watchmakers, and now we know what the betrayal was. It was they are the ones using the stellaron. And so he's not really going to have they're not really going to have his back. It's not going to be like, oh, we have a problem. Let's get somebody to come help. No, they're trying to hide all this. It's not even sure who's in on the secret. And so he's invited all these people here to cause a problem, to cause a fight, to find a solution, and to draw out who's the real traitor is. So that's the big drops. That's what he's done. Now the question is, how is a stellaron here? Because Welt's like, what do you mean a stellaron's here? There's no evidence of stellaron corruption. That we look, there shouldn't be a stellaron here. And he's like, yeah, that's the thing. And the big reveal about the stellaron is that the entire Sweet Dream, which is the Penacony, the planet of festivities Penacony, the fancy dreamlands that the family runs, are created by the stellaron. They are the stellaron disaster. They are the stellaron corruption. The Sweet Dream itself. And so the idea is, in order to create the dreams in the way the family has done them, not necessarily, I think it's different than like these dream spaces where we are in Dreamflux Reef, where they're kind of these free spaces that aren't run by anybody. I think it's different from those, because I think those are created by people's shared dreams or something. I don't know. It might also be that they were created with Stellaron too. I'm a little bit unclear, but I think the idea, it's just the family's dreams, because they're so regulated and controlled and perfect, you know. And so he says, well, in order to make those kind of dreams, you're going to need immense power. Like, you're going to need a power of an emanator specifically from Remembrance, which is the guys who do all the Memoria and memory stuff, or from Enigmata, which I don't know why, but he listed it, or you'd need the power of a stellaron. And that's what they did. He explains how in the war they found in the Rebellion War, they found the stellaron, and people were like, we should use it. But all the three nameless that were there from a long time ago, from the Trailblazers from a long time ago, told him, you can't, the stellarons are bad. But then that was my beep, because of the war, and then trying to find solutions and trying to help everybody as they were in trouble after their rebellion, eventually the nameless aren't there, and people are like, now's their time, and they use the stellaron and they start it up, and it starts working. And then when they make the deal with the family's very keen on the stellaron, knows how it works. It's like they knew all sorts of stuff how it works, and indeed it seems like that's why they made the deal. And it seems like ever since then they've been very invested in making that stellaron have everything work. Apparently the Watchmaker was left in the dark. He didn't realize that the stellaron had been used. I didn't know the family was quite keen on all of that. And by the time everything falls into place and everything's revealed, and they realize that the stellaron's being used for this whole Fantasyland vacation resort, the Watchmaker tries to push back, but it's too late. The family's in too strong a control, and they are quelling all rebellions, right? They're just stamping it out. Like, anybody who's like, yo, yours is stellaron, they're gone, right? Like it's too late. And that's what happened. That was the fallout. That was how the Watchmaker got exiled. We still don't know quite what he was blamed for, but that's how he got exiled, and he died in that situation where there's just some resistance against the last of the Watchmaker's clan. They're kind of resisting the family and the stellaron, but they can't really do anything about it because the family's in too much control. And you could say to yourself, well, what's the problem? I mean, we have a nice place. The stellaron doesn't seem to be doing anything evil. You know what I mean? It seems to all be working. Gallagher let us know that it takes an immense amount of power to make these dreamscapes. And the stellaron needs fuel. And the fuel it needs to do it is people's spirits, people's lives. And we find out that all those, that kind of enticement, like, hey, come to the sweet dream, it's so nice, forget all your troubles, have everything go away, you want to be here, not reality. Remember, we thought about that yesterday, of like, well, the family seems to all be about, use the dream to escape reality, but not for like a nice vacation to come back and stay grounded, but as a to forget about reality, to ignore reality, to pretend reality isn't real anymore, not have a break from your troubles, not have a opportunity to maybe work on your troubles so you can go back better equipped, like Grace and the children were doing, the children with the disabilities in the Dreamflex Reef. But no, just to completely ignore your troubles, ignore everything. It's like the dark side of escapism, right? When you take escapism too far, you get into like the land of like addiction and stuff. Well, they're pushing that because once they get people that the family's pushing that because once they get people that far, then they give themselves to the dream. They fade into the dream and they become fuel for the stellaron, and they're just gone. Right? They're just fueling the stellaron. And I have this bad feeling that the Charmony Festival, because remember people were talking about the Sweet Dream collapse and all that stuff. I have this feeling that maybe this stellaron's like faltering, and this Charmony Festival, like the whole point of it is to suck up a bunch of souls, is to get a whole bunch of people to just commit to the false dream and fuel the stellaron. I have a feeling this Charmony Festival is not a good thing, and that there's a lot of people here is not a good thing, right? Like I think this is the moment. So we'll see. I don't know yet. We haven't gotten to it, but that's what I feel like. Like why is the Charmony Festival still going on even though all this crazy stuff's happening? I think the Charmony Festival has ulterior motives. Let's put it that way. So that's the big reveals. That's the huge big reveals. It's really cool because a lot of the guesses we had from yesterday about the play on how the Dreamflex Reef is his dream, but people aren't trying to hold on to it, versus the Sweet Dream where people are trying to just give up reality and be in the dream. How that was a play, and how Gallagher was trying to get people together. Those did seem to be correct. That was just decent foreshadowing and decent introduction of themes. So that's pretty cool. It's all, I don't know, it's very exciting. So then we walk over, and then Gallagher's like, we ask him, like, so where's the stellaron? What do we do? And he's like, that's where Sunday comes in. So we go back over to Sunday, and Sunday just tells us real quick. He's just like, the Grand Theater is the stellaron. And then Robin's like, the first place that came into the dreamscape. It's like, yeah, that's it. That's where it is. And the guy who turned it on is Mr. Gopherwood, the Dream Master. So the guy we thought with the spooky voice in the flashback yesterday, Mr. Gopherwood with the Sunday Robin kids, he is indeed the Dream Master. He is indeed Mr. Spooky. And Sunday was like, yeah, in this investigation to try to figure out who killed Robin, I figured all this out. I just didn't want to think it was him. I liked thinking it was you, Gallagher, because Mr. Gopherwood helped me and Robin out. I don't want him to be the bad guy. But nevertheless, they say they're going to go confront him, see if this is all true, and if it is, they're gonna fight on our side to stop the stellaron. Robin makes this nice speech about how she doesn't want to use her voice to do evil deeds, and she doesn't want to hurt the Harmony anyway. She won't do the Charmony Festival. She won't get on the stage because this is wrong and this is against everything she stands for. And that's great. And Sunday agrees with her, but looks a little sinister. Sinister enough that Welt says he will accompany them. He'll go with them to make sure everything works out, which is great. Welt then pulls us aside and says, look, I'm going with them to make sure if anything goes bad, they'll have help. But also, Sunday looked a little weird, and we don't know what this Dream Master can do. We're going to be on his turf. This might not work out. And if you remember, last time we saw the Dream Master, he was essentially mind controlling all the members of the Oak family, and he said all the Oak family is his to do whatever he wants. And Sunday and Robin are members of the Oak family. So even if they have full intentions to help us, they might not be able to. So it's good that Welt's going with them. But he also, so he's going to help, but he's also going as like a double agent to make sure make sure they don't turn against us. He then brings up, reminds us that Aventurine gave us a little chip, and we bring it out. I was like, I forgot about it, but I think it was in 2.0 or something. It's like a poker chip, and Welt looks at it. He's like, yeah, just like I thought. That is a tracker. This is how he's keeping traces on you. It can probably communicate to him, but this is really good because if things go south, we can use the IPC, right? Like there's a lot of factions here. If we can't take on the family, we can get the IPC to help us because they will want to take advantage of this because they'll be able to use it to buy Penacony back out, right? So he's like, if things really go south, we're going to use this thing and try to get a hold of Aventurine. Everybody's like, isn't Aventurine dead? And he's like, probably not. He's like, you know the IPC. There's no way they wouldn't have 10, 15 million backups. There's somehow this ship will get us in contact with him. And then he leaves. And then we're back with Gallagher. And Himiko's like, there's one thing you haven't told us. You told us about the other two nameless, but you didn't tell us about the third one. And so we still have one more big reveal, which is kind of already known, but it was like tickling around in my mind, and I couldn't quite figure it out. Because we know like there's Mikhail, and we're pretty sure that's the other nameless, maybe. And we're pretty sure he's the watchmaker, maybe. And then Himiko's like, yo, tell me about legwork. That's the last one. Maybe Gallagher brought it up, but it was legwork. And so Gallagher goes on this big speech, and he lets us know that his old friend, he's like, yo, my old friend, tell Pom Pom that he always thought of him, and every time he drank, he wanted to be back and wish him well and be back on the train and stuff. And you're like, all right, Gallagher's a drinksmith. He's probably serving drinks to his old friend, or just when they're having drinks together. And then he says, the watchmaker, Mikhail Char legwork. So yes, these are all the same. Every time Mikhail's brought up, it's the last nameless. It's the watchmaker. Every time watchmaker, it's Mikhail. It's the nameless. Every time, and now legwork. Now we know he's associated with them all. And he said, you know what? My old friend had me do him a favor. He said, if I ever get a hold of the nameless, the future nameless, I want you to give him something. And so Gallagher's like, there actually is a watchmaker's legacy. It is specifically for the future nameless. So here I am going to do my duty to my old friend. And I did get some little, there was a really cool cutscene that happens. And I did actually get video for this one because the cutscene's worth watching. So let's see if this actually works. So Gallagher takes us over to the monuments. I even adjusted my cam so it's a little bit better. Ignore the orange puffball beneath the camera. But Gallagher takes us over to the monument and says the magic words, and then it's revealed, a black loading screen, and then we get a very cool cutscene. We're all there. I'm pretty sure Firefly's still there. She's sometimes in the cutscenes, sometimes not, but I think canonically she's there. Very much like Aventurine's hat, which was never rendered, but was supposedly always there. So right, you see this? And there it is. And this is revealed to be the watchmaker's grave, the final resting place of the watchmaker, and what he wanted. There you go, that's the whole thing. And what he wanted to leave to the future nameless, which is now us. Well, I'm back. That was the cool part. So we go up there and we actually find Mikhail. He's just sitting there in a chair, looking out over the thing. The guy who made all this happen, the first and last nameless, as Gallagher says, and the guy who kind of constructed everything. This seems to be the first place he constructed, and so it's the last place he was. And he's sitting in a chair. I thought it was a nice touch. He has all the relics on, the watchmaker's relics. He's got like the jacket with the fluff and a monocle. He's a hat too. He's a really fancy hat. And he's just sitting there in a chair. He's just dead. It's a little weird, but he's there. And I laughed because he's holding like a big orb, on his where his belly is. And I thought, at first glance, I thought it was just a big pot belly. I thought they just had this dead guy sitting there with a big old pot belly, and I was just like, what the fuck? But no, it's he's holding a dream orb, or a memory orb. I forget what I think dream orb. And Gallagher's like, he said it's for you guys. There doesn't seem to be anything in there, so it's probably some secret for you. I couldn't figure it out. But oddly enough, when we try it, it's empty. There's nothing in there. It's a perfectly empty dream bubble. I think that might be important because I'm wondering, is that a thing? Do they have empty dream bubbles? I don't think I've ever seen an empty dream bubble. And so, I mean, that might be the fact that it's an empty dream bubble might be actually really important. But I don't know. You think Gallagher would know that. But we don't know what to do. Gallagher's like, I knew it. This is all just crazy. This is some goofball thing. There's nothing here. And Himiko's like, look, no. There's got to be something important. He had faith in us, the future nameless, and we have faith in him, the past nameless. This is really important. We just don't know why yet. And she's like, let me go to the mall. Let me borrow your cute dog, Sleepy. And who he reveals his name is actually Dormancy, weirdly enough. But she's like, let me borrow him and go back to the mall real quick. There's something I need to check to figure this out. And that's all we really see, because then it cuts to Dan and Boothill. And this is essentially, so we've just had these really big lore reveals. This is essentially a pace break where we have like a comedy act. So I don't know how long, I don't think this will take too long to explain. It's essentially a comedy act with Dan and Boothill, and you actually get to play as Boothill. It's officially Boothill's POV, so you get to play with the future new character for just a smidge. You don't really get to look into his details or anything, but you do get to hit the attack button, you get to hit the technique button and just kind of run around as him, and which is cool. He's got like a 6-shooter and stuff. But really, it's just a comedy scene. They're in the hotel lobby and they're trying to get in because, you know, right from last thing they know is Acheron is a liar, is probably an emanator nihility, and Dawn's like, she was with my friends, and so they tried to contact us, couldn't get hold of us, probably because we're in the death dream space. And so they go to the lobby to try to get in. They try to pull a fast one. They're like, oh yeah, we're here to check in. I'm Don. I'm in your system. And this guy, he's also another nameless. And Boothill's like, hi, I'm Pom Pom. And it was hilarious. It was just a comedy. It was just a comedy pace break, right? And it's just a lot of goofs like that. And then they're going around like they can't get through the protocol because, you know, we had the protocol. She's like, well, maybe I can talk to Sunday and do what we did last time. She never comes back. Dawn looks around, can't find any members of the Oak family, thinks that's weird. Boothill talks around to people, asks the people. Nobody knows anything's going weird. And they're like, why does nobody think anything's going on when clearly, right, we think there's something going on because our friends are not talking to us, and, you know, people who are supposed to be here aren't here, the Oak family, right? Think like there's just they do a little investigation, they notice things aren't lining up. They do more comedy where Boothill's like, I got this worked out. I got a deal with the memo keeper where she will send me a drink if something goes wrong, and then we can talk to each other. We just got to get to the VIP lounge. And Don's like, well, how are we going to get to the VIP lounge? And Boothill literally goes to the manager. He goes full Karen. He goes to the manager and he starts raising his stink. He's like, how dare you treat me like that? And it's all played for laughs. It's pretty funny. The manager's like, oh no, I'm so sorry, guest. And he sends him to the VIP lounge to wait while they get it sorted. And then, you know, he can try to get the drinks and see if he gets the drinks for the memo keeper. All this was good up until this point, and this is where the super long cutscene starts. You talk to the guy at the bar, and the super long cutscene starts. It just doesn't end. And this scene is where I got annoyed, because right before this scene, Don's like, this isn't working, we should go back to the train. And Boothill's like, no. If we leave now, it'll be too suspicious. Let's do this plan that I had with the memo keeper and get to the VIP lounge. I will tell you, by the end of this, the conclusion is we need to go back to the train. And in my humble opinion, they should have done it when Don suggested it in the first place. Because this whole scene, I guess it's to give you some character building between Boothill and Don, but it's so out of left field. It's totally about things that don't seem to matter at all to the plot. They're just talking about their personal philosophies, which is interesting, kind of, but we are in the middle of something. This is a huge ass story that we're trying to get through. Why does it have this? It's just padding. It just feels, it reminded me of the, I guess I'm whining about it twice. I'm so sorry. It reminded me of the Drinksmith scene of the last patch, where Gallagher takes you to meet Shoban, and you learn how to mix drinks, and it's kind of just introducing the event. It has like no relevance to the story whatsoever, and they should have just left it in the event, and we were right in the middle of an important story that I was wanting to get through, a long story that has already taken enough time, and instead of just working on that story, we're just doing this complete fluff scene. And I'll be honest, in the midst of it, I thought the whole Dan Heng and Boothill on the lobby was fluff. But when I came back to it, I'm like, actually, that first bit was pretty good, where they had like a little comedy where they're trying to get in and stuff. But it's this part where they're at the bar because they try to get the secret drink from the memo keeper. The guy's like, that's not here. So Boothill's like, oh, must not have worked yet. We need to wait to see if it shows up later. And then they just sit there and have drinks and have this like casual conversation about personal philosophies that didn't even seem to be relevant to any of the main themes or anything. It was just, I guess, just to talk. And I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Could definitely been cut. Completely been cut. Because after they talk about nothing relevant to anything that's happening, they finally get a thing. Boothill's like, you know what? This isn't working. Let's go take hostages. And then we're back to comedy. That was funny. And Don's like, and then the bartender comes back and says, oh, here's that drink you ordered. And it is indeed the message from the memo keeper. And on it is a message from the memo keeper that says, we should meet up at the Astral Express. And so they go back to the Astral Express. And I'm like, why are we down here? Why did this happen? Why couldn't we just be there on the Astral Express and then the memo keeper shows up? So then we get back to the actual plot, where they're on the Astral Express. The memo keeper appears, and he's like, all right, spill it. What's going on with Acheron? And Black Swan's like, well, she should probably tell you herself. And then Acheron appears, and as I hoped, Boothill pulls his gun and is like, yo, you tell me what's going on. I think his line was actually like, I'll put a few holes in your head and see if any secrets spill out. It was pretty cool. He's like he's an edgy tough guy, right? So it was fun. But then Acheron's like, and I was kind of thinking that maybe, all right, them being down the lobby, maybe they'll meet up with Acheron because she just got kicked out, right? And then that'll be interesting because now we'll have another group that's got their own agenda. And they did get there, just in a different way. So she essentially tells them that. She's like, look, I don't have time to tell you all the secrets because my cover was blown and we're in trouble. Your friends are in trouble. They're okay now, but they're in trouble. We need to warp out of this system immediately. And you're like, what? And she's like, don't worry about it. I was working with the rest of your train gang, right? We're on the same side, but we have got to get out of here. This is important. And Black Swan vouches for her, says, I don't think she's lying. And then she explains why she got Boothill. Because in some of all that fluff, Boothill was like, I wonder why she pretended to be a Galaxy Ranger. She had to have known that it would have got the Galaxy Rangers pissed off enough to come hunt her down. And you really don't want to piss off a Galaxy Ranger. They're members of the hunt. They will probably hurt you, right? So she reveals, like, actually it was intentional. She poses the Galaxy Ranger to draw one of them out. And she says there's no real way to get a hold of them. They're really hard to find these days. but she knew it would draw one out. And then she says, I needed a Galaxy Ranger to fulfill a promise to an old friend, and that's what starts the flashback. So we don't really get to see what the plan is. We don't really get to see where if they're going to do the warp or not. But we just now go to this flashback where she's back on Rain Planet talking to the old man, and they have like this little story. It seems to be they're on Nihility itself. The rain and the sea it's just it's just there's like a black sun and it's dripping. You assume presumably that's IX, and there's these hands coming out of the ocean. It's just a still image. I have it, but I don't know. It's hard to see with the way this is set up. I can show it to you, but it's this. Like my camera's kind of blocking it, and if I turn this camera off, there'll be another camera there that's not blocking it, but it'll be very confusing because it'll be me talking about something else that I'm not talking about. So Acheron's behind there, and here I'll show it to you for just a second. How does this work? Can I do this? There, that's not me talking, but there you can see Acheron. There, it's me itching my nose. There, I'm back. But I can't turn that part off because it's my footage from the stream. So, but yeah, you can see it's got the black sun dripping down in the hands, and the old man and Acheron. And the old man tells us a story about how he had a bunch of friends who were Galaxy Rangers, and they fought an epic battle with Zold? Zulu? Zold? Shoot, dude. It was a name we had heard before. It was Lord Ravager, Zol, something like that. It was a name we'd heard before, but I couldn't quite remember. And he says it was super big. It was a super big deal. Shook the cosmos. They took him down, but it was a huge cost. Here, come back to me. They took him down, but it was a huge cost. And it seems to be that they all got sucked into Nihility or something, because he says some of these hands are... How did he put it? He said that people who follow the paths, their paths leave a wake behind them in this sea that outlast even them. And the people who are on really strong paths like the hunt, even though they're dead, that drive of the hunt still pushes them. And so they kind of end up as these hands become like poor reflections of them, constantly just spawning and going towards the Nihility and respawning and going towards the Nihility in this never-ending cycle of like ending, because the Nihility is all about ending. You know, it's a black hole, right? You go into it and you're gone, but it also has the sea around it, I guess. And so it's just, he says he's just been watching over his friends this entire time, trying to get them to transcendence. And Acheron's like, I don't know if that works. And he's like, you know what? It doesn't matter. This is all I'm going to do. This is important. It has to be done. And then she kind of says that she'd help him. It doesn't really say how she'd help him. But I think when she ended up as an emanator in Nihility, she ended up here and found him. And he might also be an emanator of Nihility. And has just been here the whole time. From this battle, he didn't end up like his friends. He ended up here. I think he implies that he kind of gave up the hunt because there was so much tragedy, he couldn't follow his friends anymore. And so I think he gave up the hunt and, you know, potentially got touched by Nihility himself, and now he's there just watching, you know, doing what he thinks is right, which is to watch what's left of his friends get sucked into the Nihility over and over, hopefully in an attempt to get them to overcome it. Anyway, she says she'll help, and he says thank you, and that he'll, you know, he hopes she finds the answers she seeks. She's trying to find the point of the Nihility, which is funny because it is a pointless thing, right? It's the erasure of points. There is no point. It's a null point. And that's the end of the flashback. Presumably that was just to show you that that's who she made the promise to. So this guy has something to do with the Galaxy Rangers. So she wanted to get a hold of a Galaxy Ranger, and here we are. Then it goes to it switches to Robin's POV and says we're going to and then there's a Sunday scene. I had to stop. It's too long, dude. So probably I think the next time I start up the game, it'll just start in that. I'm not gonna be able to do my dailies today, I guess. So that's kind of it. It was Gallagher lore bomb round 2, tells us all the secrets, tells us what's going on, reveals the stellaron, gets a gang together to try to deal with this and try to stop the family and stop the Charmony Festival and stop the stellaron sucking everybody's souls up, right? And just letting everything out, and this big awesome scene, and then us finding the actual watchmaker and the watchmaker's legacy, not knowing what to do with it, and then Dan and Boothill's comedy hour. That's that's essentially what happened. That's essentially what happened. And not all, some of that comedy hour could have been cut, dude. It's like a 9-hour content that you're asking people to get through, very, for the most part, like in a week, because that's when everybody wants to do it. But technically, however long the patch is. But of course, there's an event afterwards that you're asking people to do, and those are notoriously grindy, and you have to beat the story to do that. So it's just a lot. I mean, it's just a lot to ask. I'm sure there's people out there that are like, no, Captain, we want more. But for me, it's a lot to ask, and it's like, man, you could have cut some of these fluff sections. I don't know why these are here. I like your story. I think it's great. I like it a lot. I want the story. I can kind of deal with it being so long, but does it need the fluff? I mean, like, it's not like we needed padding. It's not like it was too short, But overall, it was interesting. I did enjoy the big lore reveals. I enjoyed the reveal of the stellaron. I think that's the biggest, coolest thing. Like, there's always a stellaron, but I thought it was really cool. The dream itself is the stellaron corruption, and that's why nobody realizes the stellaron. I thought that was a neat twist. I thought that was really fun. I thought the explanation of why all the different factions were invited, that was something I was wondering. I thought that explanation was actually pretty good. It's like, well, the guy couldn't do it on his own. He needed help. He figured he'd invite everybody, and somebody would, one, figure out how to fix this, but two, also, we get a fight going, we might draw out the traitor. I thought those were good explanations. Thought it was cool to find the legacy. I thought the mystery of what this legacy is, the empty dream bubble, is really interesting. So we solved our 3 nameless that Pom Pom wanted us to do. They were essentially just the leaders of the freedom fighters for the prison colony, and they all, 2 of them met untimely ends, and and then the watchmaker, just died of old age and obscurity because he could never stop the stellaron. And now on the Trailblazers' second trip around, because it takes centuries for the train to come back around, we can finally finish the job, hopefully with the help of whatever he left us. We can finally stop this stellaron disaster that the watchmaker couldn't. I think that was all really, really cool. I even enjoyed the comedy with Don and Boothill. I thought it was fun until it was dragged on way too long. And I love that they formed a second team. That Acheron did indeed leave. Black Swan's back in the picture now. I think that's fantastic because she had just kind of disappeared in the last patch. And Don's engaged, and the new character, Boothill, is there. So now we have a second team. We have our team on the ground trying to work, and then we have this other team. We don't know what they're going to do, but Acheron's got a plan. And we still don't know why Acheron's quite here and why the Nihility keeps popping up. I have a feeling that Nihility has a much larger part to play in this story. It's not just there because Acheron has a cool backstory with it. I think it's going to become more relevant as we move forward. We know the harmonies here at play, but I think also the Nihility is going to be at play. And I mean, remember, there's a big black hole in the Dream Reef. Acheron says you're all coming to an end soon. The Nihility's going to get you all. So I'm pretty excited to see that. And yeah, so actually, yeah, I'm just, as far as the story goes, I'm still pretty engaged, and I'm pretty excited to see where it goes. I thought there was some cool stuff today, and I'm looking forward to the future, which may actually be tomorrow. I might just try to bum rush this. It's so long. We're 2.5 hours in to like an 8.5 hour long play, where if that's what it takes to just just play through the content on autoplay. So we got a lot to go. I might just try to just rush it this week and see if we can get it done. I don't think we will, but we'll see. Or I might just wake up cranky that there's just too much and just play something else tomorrow. But kind of I'm leaning towards we'll probably have a couple more captain's logs the next couple of days. We'll see how it goes. I'll be here. Regardless, probably make a video on whatever we do instead if we do something different. But that is going to be it for today. So I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you enjoyed listening. I hope you're having fun with these. I'm having fun making them. And, let me know what you think. And if you're enjoying them or you want more or less clips, I don't know, whatever. Just let me know. But either way, hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I hope life treats you good. And I will catch you in the next one. See you around.